Life offers a membership for $25 each month plus a joining fee of $80. Live Fit offers a membership of $60 per month plus a $10 joining fee. After how many months will memberships to both gyms cost the same amount? Okay, so first things first, I need to write an equation for each of them. So we're going to start with Fit Life. It says $25 each month. So all our equations start in the form y equals mx plus b. And each is a word that tells us slope. So I'm going to say 25x, because it's always slope times x. And anytime I see the word phi, that tells me a y-intercept, plus 80. And then we have Live Fit, offers a $60 a month. Whenever I say CA, that also means slope. So y equals 60x. And then our joining fee is $10, plus $10. Now I need to set them equal to each other through substitution. You could do elimination, but substitution in this case will be easier. And then solve for x. Okay. So I'm going to move my smaller variable. I subtract 25x from both sides. The two 25x's will cancel. I'm left with 80 is equal to, well, 60 minus 25 is equal to 35x plus 10. Subtract 10 from both sides. I get 70 is equal to 35x. Divide by 35, divide by 35. So x is equal to 2 months. After 2 months, they will be the same price. If I ask for the same price, I would plug in 2 for x and figure out what the cost is. The graph of the quadratic function is shown below. State both the domain and range of the graph. Okay, domain is always talking about the x values. So if I look at this graph, it's going to go forever to the left. If I keep extending, it'll just keep going out to the left. And it will always keep going out to the right because of those arrows. So the domain is all reals. That is the symbol for all reals. Or negative infinity to positive infinity. The range is the y value. Okay, well, it's going to go forever down because I have the arrows going down. But at one point, it's going to stop and turn around, and that point is 6. But because it's a line, it goes through 6. So I'm going to say y is less than or equal to 6. Or you could do negative, whoops, that's an 8, not infinity. Negative infinity to 6 with a closed bracket. Those are the same thing. Number 3, write an equation of a line that is parallel to the x-axis and passes through the point negative 2, 5. Well, the x-axis, as you can look on this graph, is a horizontal line. And the equation for horizontal lines, they have a 0 slope. So it's always just y equals whatever the y value is, which in this case is 5. Number 4, determine whether the sequence is arithmetic or geometric. Then determine the next term in the sequence. Because the signs are alternating, I have to be multiplying, which means it's going to be geometric. I can see that to go from 8 to 4, or negative 4, I'm multiplying by negative 1/2. That's my common ratio. So to determine the next term in the sequence, I'm going to take the term before, which is 1/2, and multiply it by negative 1/2, which would in turn get me negative 1/4 would be the next term in the sequence. Number 5, write an equation of the line in slope-intercept form that passes through the x-axis at negative 8 and is perpendicular to y equals negative 4/3 x plus 6. Okay, if it passes through the x-axis at negative 8, that must mean it's at negative 8, 0. That is the ordered pair for that. It's perpendicular. Well, that means opposite reciprocal slopes. So currently the slope is negative 4/3. Well, the reciprocal of that gets me 3/4, and it's opposite. So since this one is negative, this becomes positive. I now have a slope. I have a point. I can find my y-intercept. So I'm going to plug into our original formula, y equals mx plus b. I don't know what b is, but I do have an ordered pair that I could plug in. So I'm going to say 0 is equal to 3/4 times negative 8 plus b. 3/4 times negative 8 is negative 6. Plus b, I add 6 to both sides, so b is equal to 6. So our equation is y is equal to 3/4 x plus 6. It just so happened that the y-intercept was the same for both of these equations, but that may not always be the case. Okay, solve the system of equations shown. Now, I would use elimination for this, so I'm going to get the x on the same side. I'll subtract 3x, so now I have 4y minus 3x is equal to 4. And then we have 8y minus 6x is equal to 8. Okay, well, if I multiply this by a negative 2, I'll be able to cancel out my x's. So I'll get negative 8y plus 6x is equal to negative 8. Well, this all cancels. I get 0 equals 0, which is all solutions. Okay. Number 7, write the explicit formula for the sequence and use it to determine the 17th term in the sequence. Okay, well, first things first, I have to find my common difference or ratio and determine if it's arithmetic or geometric. Well, 0.25 to get to 1.5, I'd multiply by 6, but I don't think multiplying by 1.5 by 6 will get me 2.5. And it doesn't, so it must be arithmetic. So I need to find the common difference by subtracting the terms. 1.5 minus 0.25. The common difference is 1.25. I know it's arithmetic. And the explicit formula for arithmetic is a sub n minus 1 is equal to a sub 1 plus the common difference times n minus 1. So I've got my common difference. I know what the first term is. So a sub n minus 1 is equal to 0.25 plus 1.25 times n minus 1. And I want to use that for 17. So a sub 17 is equal to, or this is a sub n, excuse me. A sub 17 is equal to 0.25 plus 1.25 times 17 minus 1. 0.25 plus 1.25 times 17 minus 1 gets me 20.25. So a sub 17 is equal to 20.25. Number 8, evaluate the following function for g of x is equal to 16. G of x as a whole is equal to 16, so that needs to go in place of g of x. So I'm going to say 16 is equal to negative 1/2 x plus 9. So I'm going to go ahead and subtract 9 from both sides. 16 minus 9 is 7. 7 is equal to negative 1/2 x. To get rid of that, I'm going to multiply both sides by negative 2 because that's the reciprocal. So I get negative 14 is equal to x. Number 9, graph the system of inequalities and shade the solution set. So here I'm going to start with the y-intercept at plus 5. So I put my point. This is negative 3, so I go down 1, 2, 3, and I go over 1. Down 1, 2, 3 over, down 1, 2, 3 over 1. And now this is my equation. It's a dotted line because it is greater than. And it's greater than, so I shade above. So there's the first one. Now I have y is less than or equal to x minus 2, so I'm going to start at negative 2. I go up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1, so on and so forth. It's going to be a solid line because it has the or equal to. And it's less than, so I shade below. So it should be this region here is the solution set. Number 10, create an equation and sketch a graph of a function that is exponential, continuous, and decreasing with a y-intercept of 0, 4. There are lots of options for how to do this. Personally, I would just type it in the calculator and graph it and decide which one makes sense. So I'm going to say y is equal to, let's do 1/2 x plus 3. I know that this is going to have a y-intercept of 4 because if I put in 0 for x, 0, anything raised to the 0 power is 1. 1 plus 4 is 3. So I know I've got a y-intercept of 4. It's going to be decreasing, something along those lines. All right, I'm going to go grab another paper because I'm pretty sure my pen bled through. So here we go for the back. Number 11 says, what is the explicit formula represented by the graph? Okay, well, this is the first term, second term, so on and so forth. Well, the first term is at 1, 2, and the second term is at 2, 4. My third term is at 3, 8. So here, looking at my y values, I see I'm doubling every time. So my common ratio is equal to 2. And my first term is 2. So the explicit formula for a geometric sequence is g sub n is equal to g sub 1 times r to the n minus 1. So here we go. G sub n is equal to 2, because that was our first time, times 2 to the n minus 1. All right, number 12, the following table shows the number of wins a football team has and the attendance of their next game. Determine the correlation coefficient and what it says about the number of wins and the next game's attendance. Okay, these numbers aren't making super large jumps, so I'm going to assume this is a linear regression. I was given a table, and now I can go to my calculator and type it to get my correlation coefficient and my equation. The first thing I want to do, though, is hit mode and scroll down and make sure my stat diagnostics are turned on. They are not, so I'm going to right arrow over till it's blinking on, hit enter. Then I can hit stats, enter on edit, and I'm going to type my x values in list 1 and my y values in list 2. Ooh, not 15, 157, 213, 275, 249, 301. Then I can hit stats, right arrow over to calc. Since it is a linear regression I'm predicting, I'm going to hit 4, enter, enter, enter till it changes. I get my R value is 0.95. I can also get the equation if I really wanted, but I didn't ask for it. I just asked for the correlation coefficient. If it's 0.95, that's pretty close to 1, so I'd say this is a strong positive correlation. That's another way to check if this is linear, if the linear model is a good fit. If this is close to 1, that is a close correlation, which means it's a good fit. Okay, state all linear transformations present in the following functions. All right, so I can see I have a negative, so this is a reflection. The negative is outside the parentheses, so this is going to be a reflection over the x-axis. I have 1/3 outside, it's being multiplied, so that's a vertical compression by 1/3. Okay, inside the parentheses, that's horizontal, and horizontal always operates oppositely. So normally when I add 4 on horizontal, I'm going right. So I'm going to go horizontal shift left 4 because I want to do the opposite. And then adding 5 outside, that's a vertical shift, and vertical is normal. So vertical shift up 5. Number 14, what is the solution set for the following inequality? Okay, first things first, I'm going to rewrite all subtraction as adding a negative. That way I don't mess up any of my signs. Then I'm going to distribute. Negative times 2x is negative 2x. A negative times negative 5 is plus 5. Keep that 7x, distribute the 4. 4 times x is 4x. 4 times negative 2 is negative 8. I'm going to combine like terms. So I get negative 2x plus 5 is greater than 7x plus 4x is 11x minus 8. I want to move the smaller variable, so I'm going to add 2x to both sides. Oops, not 12, 2x. So now I'm going to get negative, I've run out of space, so I'm going to get some scratch paper and just keep going on there. So we now have 5 is greater than 13x minus 8. I'm going to add 8 to both sides. I get 13 is greater than 13x. Divide both sides by 13. So 1 is greater than x, or x is less than 1. Okay. Number 15, I'm probably going to need this scratch paper again. Whoops. Number 15 says write an equation of a line that passes through the points -1, 4 and 1, 9 in standard form. Okay, so here we go. I need my ordered pairs. I'm going to make an XY table so I can get my slope. I have -1 and I have 4. We have 1, 9. To go from 4 to 9, I add 5. To go from -1 to 1, I add 2. My slope is 5/2. Now I have points. My equations are always y equals mx plus b. So I can say y is equal to 5/2 x plus b. I don't know what that b value is, but I can plug in a point. So I'm going to say 4 is equal to negative 5, or, well, it's going to be negative 5 in a second. It should be 5 halves times negative 1, which is just negative 5, plus b. I'm going to add 5 halves to both sides. Now, when I add 5 halves to both sides, I get 13 halves is equal to b. So the equation is y equals 5 halves x plus 13 halves. But this is not what I asked for. I asked for standard form. So I'm going to change it to standard form. To do that, I want my x and y on the same side, so I subtract 5 halves x. So I get negative 5 halves x plus y is equal to 13 halves. There are some issues with this. My a value cannot be negative, okay? And none of the numbers, a, b, or c, can be fractions, so I'm going to multiply this whole thing by negative 2. That will get rid of the denominators, and the a value is negative. Negative 2 times negative 5 halves x is just going to be 5x. Negative 2 times y is negative 2y. Negative 2 times 13 halves is going to be negative 13. It is now in standard form. Okay, number 16, write an equation of a line that is perpendicular to the equation y equals 3x minus 1 and passes through the point 12, 8 in standard form. Okay, well, first and foremost, I need to change the slope to be perpendicular. Perpendicular slopes are opposite reciprocals, so the reciprocal of 3 is 1/3. Opposite would make this negative. I now have a slope, I have a point, I can solve for my y-intercept. So I'm going to plug into my original formula. I'm going to say 8 is equal to negative 1/3 times 12 plus b. Negative 1/3 times 12 is negative 4 plus b. Add 4 to both sides. b is equal to 12. So now my equation is y equals negative 1/3 x plus 12. Except again, I asked for it in standard form, so I'm going to add 1/3 x to both sides. I get 1/3 x plus y is equal to 12. But again, none of our a, b, or c values can be a fraction, so I'm going to multiply this whole thing times 3. 3 times 1/3 is just x. 3 times y is 3y. 3 times 12 is 36. So that is the equation in standard form. Number 17. First things first, we need to distribute. I have negative 5. I'm going to distribute. We get x minus 5x minus 5 is equal to 3x plus 2. I combine like terms. I get negative 4x minus 5 is equal to 3x plus 2. Move my variable, add the smaller variable to both sides. I get negative 5 is equal to 7x plus 2. Subtract 2, subtract 2. Negative 7 is equal to 7x. Divide by 7, divide by 7. Negative 1 is equal to x. Okay, 18, solve for h. Well, the first things first, h is over here. It's connected to all of this, but I'm adding this. So I'm going to subtract 2 pi r from both sides first, 2 pi r squared, excuse me, because I want that to go away. So now I'm left with s minus 2 pi r squared is equal to 2 pi r h. Well, all of these are being multiplied by h, so I'm going to divide this by 2 pi r, and I'm going to divide both of these by 2 pi r, 2 pi r. I can cancel that 2, that pi, and one of the r's, so I'm left with s over 2 pi r minus r is equal to h. Okay, 19, simplify the following expression. We have our exponents. So negative 3 gets distributed to all of this, so I get 4 to the negative 3. Negative 3 times negative 2 is x to the 6th, and then y to the negative 3. And then I get 2x to the 4th times 5x y to the negative 7th. Going to multiply the bottom. 2 times 5 is 10. So we get 4 to the negative 3, x to the 6th. I get 10. X to the 4th times x is just going to be x to the 5th. And then we have y to the negative 7th. I have to bring the 4 to the 3rd down before I can multiply it out. So 6 minus 5, I just get x, because that's just x to the 1st. Negative 3 minus negative 7 becomes y to the 4th. And then I'm left on the bottom, I have 4 to the third times 10. Well, 4 to the third is 64. 64 times 10 is 640. And last but certainly not least, it says solve for base 1. Well, currently 1/2 and h are being multiplied by base 1 inside the parentheses. So first things first, I'm going to divide by 1/2 or multiply by 2, which is the reciprocal. So I get 2a is equal to base 1 plus base 2 times the height. Now to get rid of the h, I'm going to divide both sides by h. So I get 2a over h is equal to base 1 plus base 2. I want base 1 by itself, so I subtract base 2. Since I already divided, I don't have to divide base 2 by anything. So this is going to be 2a over h minus base 2 is equal to base 1. All right, that's Wildcat Sheet 1.